In the heart of London, where people bustled through streets chasing time, the annual Britain's Got Heart talent show was nearing its final rounds. The air outside the majestic Royal Jubilee Theatre was thick with excitement. Celebrities, local performers, and thousands of spectators filled the historic hall, eager to witness another night of sensational talent. Backstage, among the shimmering costumes and tense nerves, stood a short, stout farmer named George Whitmore. His weathered tweed jacket and mud-stained boots made him stick out among the glitter and glamour. But what made him even more peculiar was the creature standing beside him, a donkey. Not just any donkey. This one wore tiny, custom-made cowboy boots and a red bandana around its neck. Its name, Dusty. Laughter bubbled from nearby contestants. Is this some kind of joke? Someone muttered. Maybe he'll bray out a tune, another quipped. George ignored the comments. He gently stroked Dusty's ear and whispered, "Just like we practiced, mate. Let's show him what you've got." George and Dusty weren't new to each other. They came from a small, forgotten village on the edge of Kent. Life had been hard after. George lost his wife 2 years ago. The farm was on the brink of collapse, and loneliness gnawed at him every evening. Dusty had been the last thing his wife gifted him, a rescue donkey that nobody wanted. Too old, too stubborn. But George cared for Dusty as if it were his own blood. One evening, with a country radio station playing and George lost in grief, something astonishing happened. Dusty started tapping his hooves in rhythm. George chuckled at first, thinking it was a coincidence. But as the days passed and the same patterns emerged, George began experimenting. He clapped. Dusty responded. He played a harmonica. Dusty swayed. Before long, they developed a silent language built on rhythm and heart. Encouraged by his niece who filmed their routines and posted them online, George decided to audition for Britain's Got Heart. It wasn't about fame. It was about giving people something to smile about, something to believe in. The moment came. The host announced, "Next up, from Kent, George and Dusty." The curtains pulled back, revealing a simple set, wooden saloon doors, bales of hay, and George holding a straw hat. The judges blinked in confusion. The audience murmured. "Good evening," George greeted the stunned crowd. "This here is Dusty. He might not talk, but he sure can dance." Skeptical laughter echoed as the music began, a classic country line dance beat. George stepped in rhythm. Then, unbelievably, so did Dusty. 1 step, 2 steps, a quick spin. The crowd went silent. Dusty's tiny boots clacked in perfect sync. When George moved left, Dusty mirrored him. When George tapped thrice, Dusty followed. The donkey twirled, yes, twirled, then moonwalked backward as George played a harmonica melody. The audience exploded. Phones were held high. The judges' jaws dropped. The toughest among them, Miranda Steele, known for her icy critiques, leaned forward, eyes wide in disbelief. As the beat intensified, Dusty jumped and spun, then galloped in place. George clapped, shouted, and Dusty finished with a pose, front hooves raised, head high. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the theatre erupted into thunderous applause. People stood, clapping, whistling, shouting. Even backstage contestants cheered. Judge Miranda wiped her eyes. "In all my years," she said, voice cracking, "I have never, ever, seen anything like that. That donkey has more rhythm than my entire dance crew." The other judges agreed, giving Dusty and George a unanimous yes to proceed to the finals. News of Dusty's performance spread like wildfire. Within hours, the video had millions of views online. Headlines buzzed, "Dancing Donkey Wins Hearts, from farm to fame. Dusty, Britain's four-legged dance sensation." Invitations poured in from morning shows, international talk shows, and even the London Philharmonic, who wanted to choreograph a donkey ballet. George was overwhelmed but grounded. "Dusty's just being Dusty," he'd say humbly during interviews. "He always had it in him. I just gave him a beat to follow." In the finals, the stakes were high. The production team gave George and Dusty a massive Western-themed stage. Dusty arrived with glittery hoof wraps and a new custom hat. The crowd chanted their names before the performance even began. The music switched, a fusion of country and pop. George and Dusty delivered a flawless performance. From hip-hop spins to synchronized claps, the bond between man and animal lit up the theater like magic. The duo even formed a heart-shaped mid-dance, Dusty curving around George as he bowed. Once again, a standing ovation followed. They didn't win the competition. The trophy went to a blind violinist from Manchester. But Dusty became a legend. Months later, George published a book, Dusty Dances, A Farmer's Tale of Love, Loss, and Line Dancing. It became a bestseller. A year later, a charity dance tour was announced. George and Dusty, dancing across Britain, raising funds for animal rescues and mental health awareness. Each show sold out within hours. People no longer laughed when they saw a donkey on stage. Instead, they cheered, clapped, and danced along. For in a world of polished performances and scripted stardom, it was the sight of a humble donkey, tapping his hooves in rhythm, with his best friend that reminded everyone, joy often comes from the most unexpected places, and in the quiet corners of his farm. When the spotlight faded and applause turned to memory, George would sit under the stars with Dusty beside him and whisper, "We did good, didn't we?" Dusty would nuzzle him gently, and they would dance,